Welcome, everyone. Sorry we're late and a little confused. I'm Chris McCarthy, Chairwoman. We have
Diane Sheridan.
Ron Muir.
Jack Gremley.
We welcome you all, and we need to approve the December 7th minutes. Can I have a motion to approve? Has everyone looked at them?
So moved.
Before we approve it, just there are some inaccuracies, but it's because of things have changed afterwards.
Afterwards, yes.
Yeah. So I vote to approve it, but know that also there's going to be a couple changes.
Exactly.
Bring up in the old business.
But at that time, this was accurate.
Perfect.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Wonderful. All right, next we're going to talk about the director job search, and we have Michael Canales here to discuss it with us.
We're actually meeting right after this meeting. I'm meeting with Diane and Jack. We're going to go over the resumes that we've received. We're going to set up the interview schedule, and then we're going to proceed with interviews.
Wonderful. And how many applicants?
6 applicants. We need to go through and we'll decide how many of those we're going to interview based on their qualifications. Set up the interviews, hold the interviews, and then make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen on their meeting, which will be in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. So we could have this all done and complete in 2 weeks.
Yep, and then depending, if everything goes,
February 1st.
It'll depend if the people can start right away or not.
Right.
That's probably our only caveat, yes.
Okay, wonderful.
Yep.
Wonderful. All right. Anybody have any comments?
No.
All right. You're excused if you'd like.
All right.
I know you're busy.
Yeah.
All right, next is Jack with his operational guideline. You all received that.
While I was at the men's room, did you assign somebody to take minutes, or because Andrew?
That's right, we don't have Andrea.
Yeah. So I began an outline, so I'll do it.
Okay, all right. That's right.
They won't
Andrea.
be nearly as comprehensive and beautifully presented as Andrea.
Very good.
but,
She does do it.
Good minutes.
Okay.
Okay, so as we go over this 3-page double-sided document here, I just have a couple comments about how to do it, I think, and if you disagree, of course, we can change.
Do you have another copy?
I do.
Okay, great. Thank you.
We can either assume that each paragraph was read. I mean, I'd like to go over from bold to bold to bold, if it's okay. However, if we want to take a minute just to read either to ourselves or out loud each of the sections, and then we can open it up for any questions or discussions that might be needed, because I know I have some questions. And
you wrote it.
Yeah, because it was compiled from researching primarily 3 other Council of Aging, either bylaws or guidelines. And then I was given the history of the Council on Aging a couple of days ago, and I perused all of that. And I said, I think we hit most of it, or I guessed most of it, but there's, and primarily, I guess, after seeing that, there were no guidelines beforehand. I was just handed vote results from the selectmen regarding the Council on Aging, and there's a few things that started differently and then changed and then might slightly be changed again. So we might want to call this the revision of, if any, or whatever. Okay.
Question, do we have to submit this to the selectmen for their approval also?
I think we present it and then they make up their mind whether they approve it or not. The word that I've gotten from folks is this is all up to us. And that's everything from the Elderly Affairs State Organization said it's up to the board of the council how they want to operate in most things.
Okay.
However, we of course will present it to Michael, and then he can get it to the selectmen if he think it's appropriate and needs either a vote from them or just to introduce to them that we have, that we are operating like this.
Okay.
And as we're going through things here, what I'm most concerned about is that we don't disagree from anything that is already policy of the select and of the town of Stockbridge. So as much as possible, since my research wasn't from Stockbridge itself, it was from local towns and one faraway town, that I tried to make it appropriate to what I thought and in one discussion with Michael, the things that were right, but, so that's why they may have to look at it and say, no, that's,
Right.
it's okay.
Right.
So first of all, the name, I don't have any discussion or comments on that. Okay. And please stop, interrupt me if I'm going too fast, because I think I've lived with this document a little bit longer than anybody else. Okay. The purposes, I have only one question, and that is, are we identifying the total needs of older adults who are 55 and above?
I myself
or 60?
didn't realize it was 55. I thought it was 60.
I thought it was 62.
And I didn't know. And I said, okay, shall I write down what AARP says, which is 50? And I said, no, that's babies.
Exactly.
As part of my perusal the last couple of days, I saw the number 60
I think we should have 60.
and I didn't see anything else.
Okay.
So that's change number one to be 60. Okay. Okay. And everything else under purpose is just, it's just basically that we are to set policy and to advertise to everyone as to what's going on and how the needs can be met. So we establish the needs and we get feedback from the community and then make sure it's implemented. And those are the 3 points okay. Just under the office, should we include the telephone number? That's the only other thing that I said.
On a document like this, no. Do we?
Again, it would.
I mean, the average citizen is not going to be looking at this, correct?
No. Again, my decision process was, did I need something that I didn't have? And over the last 2 weeks, I really needed the telephone number and didn't know where to get it. And if, as a board member, if somebody said to me, where do I call to RSVP?
Having said that, I've been in discussion with Michael for a number of months that there's going to be an updated site, Stockbridge site, that's more customer friendly, citizen friendly, shall I say, that will point senior citizens to our Council on Aging easier than it is now, because it is complicated. And I've had people say to me, well, I don't have a number and I can't find a number, because when they go online and just plug in Stockbridge Council on Aging, I got a blank page with Council on Aging with nothing. But then when you go through the town office site, the town site, and you press offices and committees and then press Council on Aging, it takes you down to where we do have our calendar, where we do have what's going on and our phone number. But can be difficult for people trying to find that. It was difficult for me to try to find that.
And some people don't have computers, I've realized.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So we do need to work on that, but I'm hoping when this new town site comes
Yeah.
up, those kind of questions will be answered.
Okay, for this document then, because of what we just said, I think that we ought to have every way to contact us. So not just the physical address, but also I'll get the email address and also the telephone number.
Yeah.
And if they change, the last paragraph, this is how to amend this.
Right,
You know,
right,
just
right.
for all of us to say, yeah, amend it.
Yeah, I mean, it can't hurt.
The telephone number,
Correct.
town hall, the regular town hall.
Right, with a 263 extension.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, good. One other comment I wanted to make before it was started and didn't is the resources that I pulled from were all, the newest was 1980 something.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Wow.
so in the language, I tried to make it as informal as possible, and yet I avoided all pronouns because in all those documents, it was, first of all, chairman and he, she. And so there's now a whole different pronoun consideration. So I just eliminated all pronouns. And so if
Hooray.
it seems formal, and I call the chair, but rather than saying he, she, they, you know.
Right.
It's just, I just said the chair. So should just be aware of that. They tried to make it as informal as possible, but I read it and said, that's pretty formal. But, okay. The number of members of the council shall be 5, of which 1 may be a non-resident of the town of Stockbridge, inclusive of the chair of the council. I'm rating that because I think that there can be some comments and discussions about that. First of all, the history is that it started as 9 members, but I don't think we could get 9 people involved, okay? And then it was changed in 1980 something to 5, okay?
I didn't know that one could be a non-resident.
I didn't either.
Well, what do you think? Again, I looked at our current situation, and if an employee of the town, if we felt we should nominate that person to be on the board, and although employee of the town wouldn't be able to, because that would be a
It
conflict
would
of
be a
interest.
conflict.
But somebody who's really interested and lives in West Stockbridge, perhaps, or close by, should we have somebody like that sitting on the board, or should we limit it to?
Is this from past history that you saw this, or is this something
This
that,
particular line was taken from the Great Barrington.
oh, from the Great Barrington one? Okay, so it is up to us to decide.
When you talk about non-residents, you still have the residents up around the bowl.
I'm sorry?
You still have residents up around the bowl. Actually,
But
they're actually,
they're listed in a different town.
yeah. They're usually listed where they vote or lay their head, as they say, which would be New York, Connecticut, New Jersey. or
Well, those would be second home.
Second home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be interesting to have a second home person be on it, but they're not here all year.
Right.
But they could vote by Zoom. You know, there's gray area, and that's why I think we should discuss this. My scenario in including this was, suppose somebody is spending a lot of time in the housing council, up at Heaton Court, and not necessarily an employee of the town. And we wanted to get somebody on the board who really would help to bridge the gap between Heaton Court and what's happening downtown. Well, that person who might be really familiar with what's going on up there and give physical time up there won't necessarily live in Stockbridge. And so we could open it up to say, could that person be on the board?
Having said that, I totally agree with that. And I was thinking of a person in that case. But if that person is employed by the town,
Right,
again, that's a conflict.
right. But how about this person who isn't paid by the town, but it's giving a lot of time there,
Interesting.
I know,
Yeah.
you've stumped us. Can we all think about that one?
Sure. Okay. One other thing from my perusing about this here. It currently says that there are different terms that, that the council members would have, like 1 3 years, 1 2 years, and others 1 year.
So it's staggered,
Yeah, but,
So everybody wouldn't go off at the same time,
Exactly.
right?
yeah,
which makes sense to me.
it does, okay.
But how do you all feel about that?
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think it makes sense, but I think it'll be
Confusing.
cumbersome and a little bit confusing, I
Right.
think.
And who would decide who's doing the 3 and doing the 2 and doing the 1? That, you know, I'm just gonna hopefully quickly find, like,
I wonder if that would be left up to the town manager and the selectmen. Choose what,
it says that it's actually appointed by the selectmen, because all of us, all board members have to be appointed by the selectmen. And, wait. Oh, that was when it was 9. Yeah, when it was switched to 5, they didn't switch the variety. I don't understand the purpose in having the variety. I think it would just confuse things. And what's established later on is that in the month of June, we'd have a special meeting for nominating. And so we would assure that nominations happen for the appointed time during July, that the board be filled in the regular real world. You know, the exception to that is if somebody leaves during the year, and that's also addressed. So.
but I think the purpose of doing that, for instance, is we're all going to be coming up to be nominated and voted on soon. If we make it staggered, say, for instance, we all decided to quit. It would be a brand new board with no experience. And when you have a staggered board, you'll always be assured of having 1, if not 2 or 3 for an
continuity.
extended time, yes. And yes, it'll be more confusing and we'll have to be documenting it and making sure that, you know, who's coming up when. Perhaps when we have a real secretary doing this, that would be their job, or administrative second in command or what.
Yeah.
But I kind of think it's important, because in the case that, God forbid, all of us, for one reason or another, had to quit, we'd have to be having a whole new board like we do right now, more or less, because we weren't an active board for how many years?
Yeah, a while, quite a while.
Right. And
And we'd be reinventing the wheel.
yes, this new board would be reinventing the wheel.
Okay. So do you have a specific suggestion as to, there's 5 members, right? So 3, 2, 2, 1 in terms of years, or?
Do we need to do 1?
Yeah, do we need one?
1 doesn't seem long enough
I know
to
one
even get
doesn't
a
even,
feel of.
you know, that, and that's what it was before. It was supposed to be every year.
No. No, no.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I brought this to Mike and he said the term is 1 year.
Right. So he said the term is 1 year.
Yeah, but it's not documented anywhere.
It's not documented.
Right.
Oh, okay.
This was the original, okay? The initial appointment shall be made as follows: 3 members for 1 year. Oh, this is for 9 people, okay? 3 members for 1 year, 3 members for 2 years, and 3 members for 3 years.
All right. So
3, 3, 3.
Wow.
I'm trying to think of a scenario like what, you know, like if we had a person who was on for 3 years and we elected them chairperson each of the 3 years, it would be almost like one person's running everything, you know. It seems like the continuity and all of the job would be on that one person.
Well, before you said that, I was writing 2 people for 3 years, 2 people for 2 years, and 1 person for 1 year. But they would be assuming the position, if someone came in new, they would either be replacing someone at 3 years, 2 years, or 1 year. So it's not giving a new person a year to decide if this is for them or not. It's not for that reason.
Right.
So why don't we make 2 people for 3 years and 3 people for 2 years?
Yeah, it's about even, basically.
3 for 3 years, 2, and this can still, as we're opening up parts for discussion, we can all think about this further. But what do you think, Jack?
It doesn't, all of the number stuff doesn't make sense to me. And so I'll agree with whatever you say, because I think your reasoning is much better than mine.
I thought you were going to say, because I think your reasoning is stupid.
I agree with the continuity. I don't know what combination of numbers would make the best continuity. I don't know.
Right. And maybe that's where we ask someone experienced like Michael or some of the other boards, the selectmen, how do they do it? What are their
They have a
terms?
specific term and they
Well,
get
they do it-
elected.
Yeah,
Right. But that's staggered, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
You're not
different
always
people
voting
are
for a new select,
running
right,
different
exactly.
years.
So I'm just wondering how that's configured.
All right, so if it's okay with you, I'll write down what the suggestion is and also meet with Mike and say, what do you think
Right,
about this?
Yeah.
And then I'll report back to you next month on it.
okay,
Yeah,
all
The
right.
only other thing you got is you stay on the board until you want to get off.
And
Okay, Mr. Trump.
yeah, well, I was sort of thinking the same thing, but in different terms though, that, that each year we say, okay, do you want to stay on?
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah, we make it informal, and if everyone's in agreement, if we're all still getting along,
Yeah,
then Ron, you could stay.
yeah.
Thank you.
If you try it cool or something, then,
and so if your term is up and you get off, how long do you have to stay? Is there a time that you stay off before you could come back on? Or
well, there's a
can you,
thought.
can you never come back on? I don't know.
That's a good thought too, having rules for that.
And the caveat to that is, are there limits in term because what I read again very recently is you're limited to only 2 terms, which I think is a total waste of time. I mean, it's not like people are knocking on the door to say,
Oh, I want to
let
be
me
on.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I personally don't think there should be term limits. If somebody really likes being
Doing
here,
it.
why should we say bye-bye? Why? Because
Right.
the rule says so.
Right. And if you have people coming up to you and saying, oh, I want to be on the council, but there's no openings, I mean, you can certainly look at that.
Yeah,
If it happened, it's
Yeah.
not going to happen.
yeah, right. Realistically, I don't think so either. Okay, so I'll also investigate, Diane, what you said, that if you leave the board, can you come back on? But I don't even think we have to include that. I think that, again,
No, maybe.
if somebody has a sick family member that they have to be with for a year, and then that person, gets well and they can come back on. I don't think we should say, oh, no, you have to wait 3 years to come back.
True,
No, I agree.
very true, yeah.
Again, if I read from us that we really want it to be human oriented, not rule oriented.
Right.
So,
Right.
So I'm trying to always put some kind of realistic story in the back of my mind, why this rule should be in effect. Okay, so I will change it to 2 for 3 years and 3 for 2 years. Okay.
Yep.
And it's assumed, I guess, we can be we can be reappointed after term is up.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I might include a sentence about that you can be reappointed. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that took care of nomination appointment, which basically says that the selectmen have the bottom line on who's appointed. Okay. And they can't begin, and even if somebody's nominated by us in June, that they can't really begin until the July appointment by the selectmen, right? And then the term we just took care of.
Yep.
All right. This one I wrote discussion question mark. Okay. This was addressed because of a current situation that we have on the board. And through discussions outside of the board meeting, we again said that we should handle things like this as humanly as possible, and yet have a policy that says we have to follow it. So just to summarize this is that if somebody is missing two consecutive?
2 consecutive months.
Okay, 2 consecutive months, then a letter or a reach out goes to that person and says, are you okay? And what's the deal? Okay. And then if the person doesn't respond to that, then it's assumed by the board that that person no longer wants to be involved, and therefore a replacement can be found. Okay. That's the policy I sort of came up with in looking at other groups. The thing that I've added to this, because we want to be human, is that there is room for waiver. Okay, so we can, as a group, vote 75% and say, no, don't even generate that letter. Let's wait until July and just replace the person, like don't make a big deal about it because for whatever reason. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with it. I think it's done very tactfully. Very tactfully. Yeah.
Okay. That was a good discussion.
I know, it's a tough discussion.
I'm out to vote. I didn't put page numbers, so I think the top one is voting, right? Is it?
Last night, yesterday, when I was trying to figure this out, it was like, okay.
1, 2, 3, 4. So the voting paragraph is just that everybody has one vote, just to ensure that, because there actually were some councils that the chairperson had 2 votes. The reason being because they had an even amount. So if there was a tiebreaker, they couldn't go to the president of the Senate and say what he thinks. Okay. But I said, no, we don't want to give our chairperson. Okay.
Already.
So the next 3, I'll summarize, okay? Regular meetings, special meetings, and annual meetings. So I really like the fact that there can be 3 different types of meetings. The regular ones happen every month, according to when we do, okay? A special meeting can be called, but we have to have a majority of us agree that there's a reason for a special meeting, okay? And either the chair or the secretary can call that meeting once we get on the phone and say, do you want it, do you want it, do you want it, okay? And then the annual meeting is the one that we talked about before. It happens in June for the purpose of nominating the board members and also for picking officers, okay? Now that annual meeting can be doubled up with the regular June meeting, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it can be doubled up, but we'll just make sure that at that June meeting, one of the agenda items is reconfiguring the board or configuring the board. In other words, saying, everything's working well, you want to do it, yeah, okay, let's move on, all right? So we could do that at a regular meeting and call it the annual meeting.
Yeah. Works.
Okay? Recording of meetings, it just makes everybody aware that it is, that all the meetings are open to the public, both in person and virtually, okay? Which, when I came on board, didn't realize, and so I said, wait a minute, I think everybody, nobody should be blindsided here. All right?
Yep.
Good. Okay. Quorum is three of the five. Okay. And we have to have, they're not to voting, we have to have the quorum, and the majority of members present is how things are decided. And then everybody can vote either in person or on a remote meeting. Okay? And that's in agreement with the selectmen policy that, okay? Rules of orders, Robert's Rules of Order, which means we probably should buy a Robert's Rules of Order. So what do you mean?
Right.
Okay, the next section, I'll tell you my thinking and also Andrea's corroboration in my thinking, and then we can discuss it, okay? She felt, and I agree, that everybody should have some kind of name, a purpose. Everybody should have something, so you can hold yourself accountable to what I have to, what's my responsibility, and won't just float along, which present company, we would never do that. We'd never float along, okay? So that's why the suggestion is that there be a chair, a vice chair, a secretary, a treasurer, and a member at large, okay? And then I went on to explain the purpose of, or the job description of each.
I have a comment on that. We
Yeah.
really have no need for a treasurer. Correct?
We don't have money, do we? I mean,
Right.
we don't work with money as such.
Right.
True.
Director will work directly with the town treasurer with their budget. I think once we have a director, part of our meeting should be reviewing her budget, his or her budget. That's part of our job, isn't it, as a board? To make sure that money's, although the treasurer will do that also.
Well, my thinking that, because I did give a lot of thought to the treasurer position, and I think that we want to state it in a positive, affirming way that if there's anything fiscal that is to be thought about or brought up by the director, that it would be the treasurer who oversees that. And also the treasurer would help to organize things like grant writing or search out just anything fiscal, but not actually do the managerial part of the monies, okay? But the main purpose is to support, and yet the treasurer can also be that person that everybody knows is responsible for supervising what I'm doing. So I know that there's a specific person who's in charge of looking at the budget, the town budget, and saying, I'm not sure the Council on Aging is getting their appropriate funding for the amount of people involved in the work that they do. So the treasurer would be that person who sort of pinpoints our work, but the council itself would do the ultimate agreement on that. But the treasurer would be the person who's responsible for doing the research and bringing it to the board.
Good thought. I have to think that over because I'm not sure who would want to take that on the board. And we do have a town treasurer and Michael as a safeguard. But I like your thought that it's protecting our council on aging on saying, hey, we're not getting enough funds. I like that.
And also be an advocate for a council.
That's exact,
A
that's,
fiscal advocate.
that's
Yeah.
the word I'm looking for. But having said that, the director should have skills also to be able to defend and advocate for her budget. And then we support her doing that. Do we need a person and are we capable of being the person? I don't know. It's, how do you all feel about it?
I think looking for a treasurer, you want somebody that's got an accounting background or knows something about accounting and grant writing and everything like that.
Yeah, the grant writing's a big deal.
Yeah.
None, I don't have that
Yeah.
ability.
No.
And that's why the person, the director, through the hiring committee, the director needs to have experience with grant writing and
Right.
all the bureaucracy of it and handling a budget and doing this and that. Your thoughts, I think, are wonderful, but again, as Ron said, it should be somebody that's experienced.
And you
With
can
the
bring-
board.
You can bring anything to the board and we
Yeah.
can discuss it and then go from there.
Right. With the present members, I'd be very qualified to be the treasurer and I would like to take that position on.
Okay, but you're also the vice chair, aren't you?
Well, it depends on, it depends.
And would you be the chair too?
It depends on, I mean, on what the council says, but my point of bringing me up is that there is somebody who does have
Who has that
a budget
experience.
background and a grant writing background, okay?
Yeah.
And also when we nominate a new person, hey, we need somebody that really is fiscally honest and that, you know.
Right.
So, monies in, if not dealt with openly and discussed as much as letter writing, there's always suspect. And again, that's not the reason to have a treasurer. The reason is to advocate for, but having somebody on the board that oversees it, and that's a word that I use, to oversee, I think is really smart.
Well, I think you would be the perfect person for
Yeah.
that amongst us.
We all agree.
But let's just limit that to, there is the possibility of having a perfect person to get, no, I'm saying that because with this document, we're looking ahead to the future.
We are.
I mean, we're not just looking ahead to who's going to fulfill things now, but, and then as we nominate the board members going ahead, we say, oh, okay, the person who is treasurer their term is up. So they don't want to do it. They don't want to be on the council again. So we should actively look for somebody who would fulfill that.
And that's in a perfect world, that's great. But we know how hard it might be to get board members anyways, let alone saying, okay, this is a position on the board that you have to have treasurer experience.
Right. Yeah.
Right, that would be difficult.
That limits us more. We could have a wonderful person that would bring a lot of energy and thought to our board, but if it's that position of treasurer, if they don't have that kind of experience, then we're
Right.
limiting ourselves on getting a wonderful person on our board.
Can a member hold more than one job?
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, Jack's going to hold all the jobs, and we'll sit here and
We
listen.
know that now.
The secretary, that could be something to change, to make the position secretary treasurer. And then.
There you go.
Then two at large,
Perfect.
because the secretary and treasurer isn't going to necessarily have a lot to do once the director's on board, just to oversee it. And to comment to what you just said, if somebody is really enthusiastic and wants to be a member of it, and they probably would want to learn that new skill. Once on board, say, oh, what does a treasurer do? Oh, I'd be happy to, to learn more about grant writing or,
Well, and that's
Yeah.
a story though. That's saying we'll take on a person and not limit it to being the treasurer person.
right,
Okay,
right.
I'm okay with that.
Absolutely.
But then, and in the meantime, we won't have a treasurer. If you want a treasurer and we hire the perfect person for our board who is not fulfilling the treasurer part, then what happens?
I would say that we go with the 5 named officers, and then if that scenario comes up, we vote as a council to waive that,
Do that.
that we have 5, and say, well, why don't we just put this person on as a secretary treasurer?
You mean add an additional position? Then we'll be up to 9, like back in the 80s.
No, but to have 5 members, each with a title, okay? And then if it comes up that, that we want to change 5 and just say that, oh, there's actually going to be a chair, a vice chair, a secretary treasurer, and 2 members at large, because it'll fit the board from this July to next July, that we vote to waive what's there and just say, okay, let's just, let's change it temporarily.
We go before the selectmen.
No, just to us.
You're going to waive and have another person added without going to the selectmen?
No, if we have a chair, a vice chair, a secretary treasurer.
Yeah.
Member at large. It's-
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're not changing the numbers. You're
No.
just- Okay, got
Changing,
it.
Right.
changing the officers and the responsibilities of the
Okay.
officers. In the same way, if we agree as a board that the secretary is a person to take minutes, but we find another person who's there who takes minutes better than all of us, okay, then we can waive this and say, okay, that person will take the minutes rather than, just waive the job description a little bit.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, good.
But won't the new director be part of this treasury setup? Because there's,
Did you
according
find
to
someone to be the new,
They,
I thought you're the new director. Yes, that's what I was saying that.
yeah.
because
That there's a-
the qualifications for that was for writing grants and.
And fiscal
Yes.
Right.
yes. Oh, yes. But this will be, in your terms, to assist
Right.
her
Or oversee.
Right.
and
Right?
oversee.
Yeah, that, I have this grant proposal, I'm thinking of writing, and I would like another set of eyes to look at this. Would you then, okay, why don't you give it to the treasurer?
Yes.
Okay, to oversee it.
Right.
Or the treasurer, since the primary focus will be fiscal for the treasurer, that in spare time, the treasurer goes and says, what state grants are available?
Right.
Or, okay.
Right.
Hey, Stevie, just to assist, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think I think we could say support in addition to assist.
okay, oversee, support,
Yeah. I mean, I think it would be reassuring for a new director to have someone who's skilled in those areas.
yeah, and to know where to turn.
Yes.
And also, and this is the real reason I even got going on all this, it would divide up the work of the council among 5 people rather than 1.
Right.
Yeah.
And not just because of the person who's the chair now, but anybody would go to the chair first and say, okay, they're the person who represents the council.
Right.
So, and the chair would say, well, why don't you speak to the treasurer?
Yeah.
And then get back to me after they do all of the legwork. Yeah, okay?
Yeah.
All right, I hate to interrupt this conversation, but I think we only have Zoom for another 10 minutes. And maybe we should be handling this by ourselves afterwards, and we'll get on to
Or
other
table it,
things.
table it to the next meeting?
Yeah, because I think we need to keep open our entire meeting.
Okay,
You have more on your agenda.
Yes, we have to complete our agenda.
then let's just wrap this up by saying that I will, I'll investigate and make changes as we discussed, but keep the 5 officers in place? Not,
Yes.
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
All right, good. And I only found one typo, instead of under C, it's or. And I think, those are the only comments that I have. I think we might even be done, unless you want to take just another second to look.
Well, I think we should table it now, and then after our allotted time is out, we amongst ourselves could just finish it.
Okay,
Okay? How's that sound? Everybody game?
Yes.
good.
Okay, moving on, December events report. We had a really good turnout for Chief Garofoli. He was wonderful.
Yes,
Wasn't he
he
great?
was very
He was
good. I
wonderful.
agree.
Yeah. The presentation was wonderful on safety and his video and personal care, the balance issues and everything as we all get older. January and February events. In January, we have, next Wednesday, we have our event, which is the poet Leslie Klein, who is also she does pottery, so she's going to bring a couple things in and read her poetry. The lunch, I think I've determined we're going to do maybe a sandwich platter from Big Y or something.
Yep.
Easy for you and I, Diane.
Very.
Yeah, better than making soup. We did request for all luncheons from here on in that people call. Because it's getting too crazy for us not knowing if there's going to be 6 people or 40
Right.
people.
Right.
So thus far, I checked the machine, the voicemail yesterday, and we're up to 6, but a lot of people didn't get their flyers until the beginning of this week.
Okay.
So I anticipate we'll get more.
Right. So if we have 6 that responded, we should probably say, okay, it'll probably be 10.
Exactly.
You know,
We'll
because we'll have
overestimate
some
it,
walk.
but not
Yes.
overestimate it to 40.
Exactly.
Okay,
In addition to that, there's a change in the musical end of it.
Yes.
The minutes read that we're going to do Beatles, we switched it to an Elvis tribute because it's his birthday this month. And I'm actually doing everything I can to get the television to work as a karaoke machine. So we'll have everybody singing along with the words that are up there, and it'll save the printing of,
yes,
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
that'll be fun. Okay,
And it's next Wednesday at what time?
11.
11.
So that means we all need to be there 10:30.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. And then in February, we're having Peace, Love, and Chocolate are doing some chocolate, a goodie for each person with Beatles love songs and more. We need fun songs too, not just romantic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, the slant is going to be more global love, and also there'll be a song or two about peace and love.
Yes.
And chocolate.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's
There you go.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
All we're saying is give peace a chance, or all we're saying is
Yes.
give a piece of chocolate a chance.
I don't like that phase of John Lennon's life. Just But that song does work for what we're doing for February, Peace.
Give peace a chance, yeah.
Yeah.
Peace a chance.
And also, yeah, exactly. And
We can
depends how
dress
you
like
spell
peace.
peace. If it's PIECE, then,
Yeah.
If you so choose, you can dress like a hippie. Or John Lennon's version of a hippie in Yoko's. That's February. March. We're going to do a St. Patty's Day party. And we'll work on how we're going to make that a fun St. Patty's Day party. April, I'm looking at, where did I write that?
Chris, if I could just recall something we were talking about, that if we made March the wearing of the green, that would be more of an inclusive party than not just Irish. That,
Absolutely.
Sure.
So.
Point.
Yeah, so, and yet the people who really care about St. Patty's Day will know that the green is, that's what it means.
Yes.
Right.
Good point. In the spring, April, I spoke with somebody at Nomkeg to maybe have Nomke present something to us as a speaker. And then in May, and of course, when a director comes on board, these are all tentative, and a director can, pick it up
Decide.
from here. But I tentatively have Hancock Shaker Village in Pittsfield in May. And they suggested maybe even sending a bus up there in lieu of them coming here. But that's a lot to work on, and that'll be up to a director.
Right.
And then amongst additional activities, bridge, I haven't taken care of yet because we're so close to getting a director. Knitting, Roxanne started that just like last week, just like Tuesday when I had myself walking. On Wednesday, she had herself knitting. But the flyers
Oh,
hadn't
it
gone.
was just you walking?
It was just me walking on Tuesday, but on Thursday I had 3.
Okay.
Yesterday I had 3, and the word's getting around.
Okay.
And I think that's going to happen for Roxanne too.
And also the solo walk was pre-flyer
Exactly,
and the 4 persons were post-flyer.
exactly. And word's getting out. We need to press that people, the wonderful event we gave for the grand reopening, made out-of-towners, I don't know why, feel that they're not welcome to our senior center. And I've run a couple of the ladies that came to my walking group for Lee didn't realize that they could come. And I don't know how many times I have to stress it, bingo, every place else. No, unfortunately, the grand reopening had to be, we were having it catered. We needed to keep the numbers down. It was in our budget that we could do so many people, and same with the Red Lion Inn. They offered us 88 tickets. They went to Stockbridge residents.
Right. I think that's,
So somehow we have to get the
Logical.
word out that we are a welcoming senior center.
But the Red Lion Inn dinner, basically for Stockbridge residents, has always been a good pool.
Exactly. Oh, exactly. There's no fault in
80 to
that.
90 people.
right, and it's.
There's no fault in that.
But
But then it leads others to think, and I don't know why that word got out, that people weren't invited to a senior center, but it is out there.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Including the speaker series open to everyone.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes. And yeah, so it's unfortunate that it was taken that way when we had our grand reopening and our intentions were good,
Right,
but
right.
things get twisted.
But I think the Red Lion too has said for Stockbridge seniors.
Oh, absolutely.
You know
No,
what I
that's
mean?
understood.
Yes, yes.
That's understood. And for obvious reasons, that room can only fit 88 people.
Right.
And the table I was at, we were a little snug. Yeah, so no, they're very generous in giving us those 88 seats.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So anyways, moving on, new business. I have none.
Nothing.
Okay. Open forum. Next meeting. We have nothing to vote on, did we? I have Wednesday, February 8th.
Were we going to go first or second? I mean, just as a whole general policy, because that was unclear over the last couple, first or second Wednesdays of the month.
Oh, all right, because I have it the second, yeah,
Second,
yes. Because the third Wednesday, we have our luncheons.
right. Do we need more time between luncheons and meetings? Or do you think or is it better to have it close?
Well, no, isn't the luncheons on the third Wednesday of the month?
Yes.
Right, and we're going to make our council on aging the second Wednesday of the month. Oh, you're saying more time?
To prepare for, although again, once a director's on board,
Right.
yeah, okay. So it'll be the second Wednesday of the month.
For council on aging board meetings.
Right.
And
That's
third
the-
Wednesday of the month for our luncheons.
That's the 8th is the second Wednesday. Is that right?
Second is the 8th. The Valentine's luncheon will be on the 15th, a day late and $1 short, because the 14th is Valentine's, but hey, it's got to be on a
Right.
Wednesday.
It gets you geared up.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
So the next meeting I will not be here. We're going to be in California
Woo-hoo.
for 3 weeks.
Okay.
Is it gonna be
For
there?
3 weeks.
What?
Is California gonna be there?
Well, I certainly hope so.
You know, you can do it on Zoom.
Say what?
But we'll still have a quorum if all three of us are here, so.
Right.
If all
Yeah.
3 of us are
So
here, we'll be
vote
okay.
Diane as the
Have fun,
secretary.
Diane.
No, that's your road.
All right, are we all set? A motion to adjourn?
So move.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.